Last week marked 5 years since I started my business, which was a huge combination of emotions like relief, excitement, worry, joy, you name it. And in 5 years, we've done a huge amount of work for clients across sectors like community services, construction, mining, health, childcare, agriculture, retail, government, finance. It has certainly been a wild ride. And at all these pivotal points in my business, I've always taken a bit of time to reflect on the lessons that have been learned and generate ideas for the future. And this 5 year milestone is no different. So, in today's episode, I'm going to share 5 of my big comms and marketing lessons from the last 5 years, some of which you might be able to adapt to your own circumstances. What are those 5? Hang around to find out. Hello, friend, and welcome to another episode of Less Chatter, More Matter, the Communications Podcast. My name is Mel Loy, and I'm recording this episode on the lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people here in Meanjin, also known as Brisbane. And as I said in the intro, last week we celebrated 5 years in business. And as part of the birthday celebrations, drumroll, we have also launched our new brand. So since the beginning, we've been known as Hey Mel Communication and Training. And that was largely because I was the only one in the business when it began, and I had no intention of growing it. But grow it did very quickly, and now it's more than just me, and it's been more than just me for quite some time. And we wanted to better represent our skills and expertise, so it is now time for a new brand. So we are now called Cuttlefish. If you're wondering why, it's because they are the epitome of adaptability. They change colours to suit their environments, they're highly intelligent, and they're very quick. It's the kind of metaphor that suits the work we do, especially in change, really well. So with all of that happening, I thought it was time to share some of the lessons in comms and marketing I've learned in 5 years of business. These are lessons you can apply to your own business or even if you work in-house. So let's get into it. Lesson 1, get clear on what value you offer and for who. This is in the top 5 for a reason. If you are not clear on what you do and the value you offer, and you can't clearly and concisely say that, then absolutely nobody else can. Imagine someone who would love to recommend you to somebody else or advocate for you, and they can't really explain what it is you do. Or you meet someone briefly in an elevator or at a networking event and they ask what you do, and you've got about 3 seconds to tell them. These are the people that you are developing your message for, not just potential clients. And unfortunately, I do see this a lot on LinkedIn in particular, even on heaps of company websites as well, not just consultants, where you're left wondering, what is it you do exactly? I can't tell from that description. The other thing that complicates this lack of clarity is that when you first start as a consultant, it can be really tempting to say yes to everything because of the fear of having no work. And that further muddies the water because it's likely you'll end up doing the work that is outside of your core service offering or stuff you don't really like, or outside of that niche that sets you apart. So, how do you nail this one? Well, firstly, start with who your ideal client is. Because when you know who that is, it alters the language you use, the channels you use, and of course, your messaging. Because you need to speak to a problem that they have that you can solve. My friend Fadi Ramsey, who has been on this show before, he puts it really concisely. A specific solution for a specific problem for a specific person. How do you add value to their lives or their business? Now, secondly, be clear on what you offer, but also what you don't offer. And be clear on how what you offer is different to others. So it could be a specific methodology that you use. It's a unique combination of skills. Maybe it's an industry or a sector that you specialize in, etc. But this is where a really simple structure for this kind of statement or an elevator pitch can help. I like to use hook, problem, solution, reward. So hook, problem, solution, reward. The hook is what gets people interested straight away. It's something that appeals to them or catches their attention because it's relevant to them. So it could be a question like this. Do you find you run out of time to get the strategic work done because you're too busy putting out fires? Or it could be a statement like, you shouldn't have to spend all your time putting out fires instead of focusing on strategy. So that's the hook that gets people's attention. And then you get to the problem part of the statement. So this could be something like, Many communication teams are resource poor, stretched to the limit, but the work keeps coming in. Or maybe you could say something like this. Like many businesses, change is constant, but the capacity of your teams is already at its limit. So that's the problem. And then it's about the solution. But the key to the solution is to frame it around the customer, not about you coming in to save the day. So, for example, you could say a statement like this. By investing in business communication skills for your team, you'll help your business run more smoothly. So notice it's about you. You're investing, you're helping your team. It's all about you, the client. Or you could say something like, bringing in an extra pair of hands to help clear the decks and create more space for strategy and creativity can be a game changer in your business. And then finally, you have the reward part of the statement. So this is what the customer or the client gets by taking on that solution. So for example, you will find your staff will be happier, more productive, and more likely to stay. Now, finally, and obviously, avoid jargon. If nobody understands it, then they're really not going to understand what you do and how you can help them, and they definitely can't repeat that onto others. So, for example, if I described what I do like this, it would be completely lost on people. Okay, this is a bad example. I create holistic communication solutions to optimize outcomes and facilitate transformation journeys. Now, apart from the fact it's full of corporate gobbledygook, I'm sure people would be asking, what does that even mean? What do you do? And they certainly wouldn't be able to remember it and share it with others. So that's lesson 1, get clear on what you offer and for who. Lesson number 2, stay on the radar consistently. We live in an attention economy where more people and companies than ever before are trying to get our attention through more channels than ever before. It is a very noisy world out there. And for that reason, you also need to stay in the spotlight. It is very easy to get drowned out by other voices or for those dreaded mysterious social media algorithms to push you to the bottom of the pile. Simply writing one post a week and setting up a website isn't going to cut it. Having a website is no good if nobody knows about it or goes there. And one post isn't going to help drive a following and visibility. You need to show up consistently no matter what you do and what industry you are in. So this is all about planning. I know there are many of you out there who probably feel uncomfortable about putting yourselves out there. But think of it this way. If you are a consultant, then you run a small business. If you ran any other small business, like selling clothes, for example, you would never think twice about consistently sharing content. You need to have that business owner mindset. Also, it is not about sales. It is about adding value. So when you are developing content, whether it's for social media, a podcast, a blog, newsletters, website, whatever, it has to add value or people will stop listening. So think about what is content that would be valuable for your audience. Again, go back, think about that ideal client and the problems they might have, and frame your content around solutions, tips, ideas. Share articles that might be of interest to your followers. Repost other posts with your comments. You don't have to come up with original content all the time. As long as it's valuable, people will follow. But again, you have to deliver it consistently to stay on the radar. This is so important because while many people may not comment or even like posts, people are lurking. They are watching, I promise you. And while they might not need your services or product right then and there, you want to be top of mind when they do need you. So many times over the years, I've been contacted by people who were lurking on LinkedIn. They might have been former colleagues or just followers. They remembered something I posted or they'd been following me for a while and the timing was now right to have a conversation. But they need to have some confidence that you will be the right person for the job in the first place, which again is why it's so important to share valuable content consistently that demonstrates that expertise and knowledge. Now, a question I often get asked is, it's a magical question, how often should I post? And honestly, it depends on a few factors like the platform you're using, how much time you have to produce content, etc. But I'd say rule of thumb, 3 posts a week is a good place to start. If you're doing longer form content like video or blogs or podcasts, once or twice a fortnight is a good place as well, especially if you are just a one-man show or you're lacking in resources in your business. And if you are time poor, plan ahead. So, for example, I will often spend a few hours on a Sunday afternoon drafting up a bunch of content and scheduling it for the next few weeks. Of course, it will change as things happen, but it takes a lot of the pressure off and means I don't have to remember what to do every day. So, that's lesson 2, stay on the radar consistently. Lesson 3, we're starting to edge into more advanced territory here, and that is develop a clear framework or process and talk about it. Now, this is what makes you or your business or your service or your product unique. Having a framework or a process or a unique offering is critical to setting you apart from the rest, because the reality is there are a lot of people out there offering what you do. There's a lot of businesses out there selling similar products to what you sell. So apart from price, what else can you compete on? And the answer is often a unique way of working, a framework or a process that provides clarity and confidence to your clients and customers. So for example, if you've been following me for a while, you've read my books, you know I've got a couple of frameworks. There's the Epic Change Communication Framework that my first book is centered around. And there's the Skills Framework for Effective Communication that my second book is about. And I've got a whole bunch of other models and things in there too. Now, the beauty of these things is not only do they really help you write books, they help clients understand core concepts really easily, as well as processes, but they also provide a lot of opportunity for content for your channels too. I also have a process that our team works through with every client, and I mention that in every proposal we do, because we want to give assurance that we know what we're doing and also reduce the uncertainty for the client, give them some clarity. So thinking about your own business and your services and products, how could you develop a framework or methodology or process that you could center your work around, something that you become known for that you can talk about? Which leads to the next point in this lesson is make sure you talk about it. Again, there's no point having a framework or methodology if nobody knows about it. One question I was asked in a workshop was about the risk of people stealing your ideas if you put things out there. If that's something you are really worried about, you could consider trademarking, although it is expensive, it is a long process, and it may not also always be successful. There's billions of people in the world. There's a good chance somebody's got something similar. I have trademarked the Epic framework, but that took about 10 months and it was pretty pricey. There are other steps you can take, like watermarking images so they're harder to reproduce, asking people to credit you if they share your stuff, etc. But that said, there is enough success to go around, and very few ideas are truly original anymore, let's be honest. The question you need to ask yourself is, what's more important? Getting people to know and trust you so they'll want to work for you or with you? Or holding on to your ideas and frameworks out of fear that someone else will use it? At the end of the day, if someone rips off one of my frameworks, I will have options to pursue them if I want. But I'm also a big believer that what goes around comes around. Eventually they'll get found out. So that's lesson number 3. It is develop a clear framework or process and talk about it. Lesson number 4, grow into some thought leadership. This is about people expressing a point of view or a deep expertise on something. They are people who are truly experts. They are lifelong learners and share ideas and fresh takes on old ideas. They are the ones who will get the most out of their communication effort. This is about becoming known as a thought leader in your field. Now, that term thought leader does sound a bit wanky. I know it is a bit wanky, but it's really about positioning yourself as an expert in your field. People follow people, not brands. So it's worthwhile investment of your time and energy. If, as a brand or an individual or a leader in a group, you just toe the line, you never say anything outside of conventional thinking, and you play it really safe, then people will get bored. And also, customers and clients expect more of the people who lead brands. They expect them to stand up on issues that are important to them, to share valuable insights and ideas. That's the reality of the world we live and work in. But before you start communicating in this space, put some guardrails in place. These should be about aligning whatever you say to your brand and your values, thinking about what you will and won't make positions on, and the principles you will apply. So, for example, a principle might be always being respectful when disagreeing or offering an idea. Now, I did a whole episode on thought leadership a little while ago. That's episode 62, if you want to go check that out. So I won't labor on it too much here. But a thought leadership strategy, whether it's formal or informal, should absolutely be part of your communication mix for your business, Whether that's you as a solo operator or as a leader of a company, or you are supporting leaders in your business. Thought leadership isn't just written comms either. It's being on a panel, it's being a guest on a TV show, speaking at an event, or hosting a webinar. There's lots of ways to show up as a thought leader. In fact, speaking has been one of the best ways to market my business because I've been given opportunities to share my expertise and give people value without selling myself and my business. So look for opportunities for speaking or facilitating. Join professional organizations to help get closer to some of those opportunities. Search for calls for speakers for conferences. Approach organizations who might hold events, etc. You will be demonstrating thought leadership in real time and you'll be getting on the radar. So that's lesson 4, grow into thought leadership. Lesson 5, the last one for this episode, is don't be afraid to reach out directly and have two-way conversations. The worst a person can do when you reach out is say no or ignore you. That's pretty much it. Two-way conversations are incredibly important to build trust in you and your business. It's how you build rapport and you both get that sense of whether or not you actually want to work together. And I've certainly seen some red flags in conversations I've had. But also, and this is like staying on the radar, people don't know you exist until you tell them that you do. Now, there are people who do this cold call style of reaching out a lot, especially on LinkedIn, and it's really annoying, but I understand and expect why they're trying to use that as a tactic. But instead of reaching out and saying something like, hey, I do comms, do you need comms? Hire me for comms. Invite a conversation. If they are in the same city as you, see if you can meet up over a coffee. Have a Zoom meeting just to ask about their business, get their take on your sector, etc. Again, you might not get work directly or right away. In fact, you probably won't. But you will be on their radar and they could refer you to someone else. Two-way conversations online are also important. So inviting people to leave their own ideas or experiences or questions in the comments of your LinkedIn posts, for example, is a key part of building that network, and the algorithm loves it. But it's even better when you respond to every single one of those comments and questions because you are starting a conversation with someone and you never know where that might lead. It also often unearths some other interesting points of view, which is great. That's what we want. We want interesting conversation. It doesn't matter whether you work for yourself or someone else. These conversations are important. They keep people's attention. They invite others into your space and they help to build a network. And most importantly, it starts to build trust because people get to know you and the value you can offer. I have sometimes heard people say they're worried about what people will write in the comments on their posts. And look, you will always get some idiots who are oxygen thieves, but typically in the B2B space, they're pretty few and far between, and you can always block people, delete comments if you need. But again, unless you are at the heart of a scandal or you say something absolutely ridiculous, you're going to be okay most of the time. So put yourself out there and start a conversation. Okay, it is time for your episode recap. And today, to recognize our 5th business birthday, I've shared 5 big comms and marketing lessons from the past 5 years that you can apply to your own business. Lesson 1, get clear on what you offer and for whom. This is about identifying and understanding your ideal client and their needs and problems and offering unique solutions in a really concise way. Lesson 2, stay on the radar. This is about showing up consistently with valuable content for your audience. You want to be top of mind when people need what you offer. Lesson 3, develop a unique framework or methodology. It is the best way to stand out from others who offer similar products and services, and it also demonstrates your expertise. It provides that much desired clarity to potential clients. Lesson 4, grow into that thought leadership space. Have ideas, have opinions, and share them. Think of it as helping to drive your profession or your sector forwards. And remember that people tend to follow people, not brands. And lesson 5, don't be afraid to reach out directly and have two-way conversations. It is the best way to build trust. And when people trust you and your brand, they want to work with you. Right, folks, if you are interested in freelancing or consulting and want more lessons like these, then you are in luck, my friend. I've just turned my Fresh to Freelancing course into an ebook, and it's going to be available super soon. I'm just going through all the edits right now. It is 150 plus pages of tips on everything from setting up your systems to managing your finances, brand and marketing, everything in between. Essentially, you will learn from my mistakes, which is far better than making them yourself. We'll pop a link in the show notes to the website where you can add your name to the waitlist. You'll be the first to know when it's available. In the meantime, for those of you who have been on the journey with me over the last 5 years, thank you so much for coming along for the ride and for always being our biggest cheerleaders. Nothing happens without you. Let's see what the next 5 years brings. And in the meantime, keep doing amazing things, and bye for now.